The mining laser carved through the asteroid's surface like butter, sending chunks of rock spinning into the void. Kira Patel watched through the reinforced viewport of her excavator, mentally calculating the mineral yields. After 8 years working the Ceres mining belt, she could spot a profitable claim from 50,000 kilometers away. This one, however, was different. Anomaly detected in Sector 7, announced Mira, her excavator's AI. Crystalline formation inconsistent with known mineral patterns. Kira adjusted her harness, leaning forward to study the readout. Show me spectral analysis. The holographic display flickered to life, presenting a dazzling array of colors that made absolutely no sense. These weren't the usual signatures of platinum, gold, or rare earth elements. The crystal structure seemed to shift and flow, defying the laws of physics. That's impossible, she muttered, tapping the display. Mira, run diagnostic check on scanning equipment. All systems functioning within normal parameters, Mira replied. Warning, crystal formation exhibiting increasing energy signature. The asteroid's surface began to glow, emitting a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Kira's hand hovered over the emergency thrusters. 8 years of experience screamed at her to pull back, to call it in and let the science teams handle it. But curiosity had always been her weakness. Mira, establish emergency beacon and begin recording all sensor data, she commanded, powering up her suit's systems. I'm going EVA. The space between her excavator and the asteroid's surface was barely 30 meters, but each movement felt like an eternity. Her magnetic boots clicked against the excavator's hull as she made her way to the discovery site. The pulsing light grew stronger, casting ethereal shadows across the cratered surface. Energy readings continuing to increase, Mira's voice crackled through her helmet. Caution advised. Kira activated her suit's sampling kit, extending a probe toward the crystal formation. Beginning collection procedure Alpha-. The crystal moved. There was no other way to describe it. The entire formation rippled like water, extending tendrils of light that reached toward her probe. Kira froze, her heart pounding against her ribs. First contact protocols flashed through her mind, procedures every deep space worker memorized but never expected to use. Mira, broadcast first contact alert to all frequencies, she managed, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. The crystal structure had nearly reached her probe now, its light intensifying. Alert broadcasting. Warning, unknown energy field detected. Suit integrity may be compromised. Kira began to retreat, but it was too late. The moment the crystal touched her probe, her world exploded into light and sensation. She felt her consciousness expanding, stretching beyond the confines of her body and suit. Alien memories flooded her mind, vast journeys through the darkness between stars, ancient wars fought with weapons that bent reality, and an overwhelming sense of purpose. They were guardians, she realized. Sentinels left behind by a civilization so advanced their technology seemed like magic. And they had been waiting, watching, preparing for something. Through the chaos of shared consciousness, one thought emerged with crystal clarity: humanity was not ready for what was coming. The mining station's rescue team found her floating unconscious beside the asteroid 4 hours later. The crystal formation had vanished, leaving behind only trace energy readings and questions. But as they rushed her to medical, none of them noticed the faint luminescent patterns beginning to form beneath her skin, or the way nearby electronics seemed to respond to her presence. In the station's medical bay, Dr. Rashid Omar studied the readings with growing concern. Nothing in his 20 years of space medicine had prepared him for this. His patient's neural patterns were completely altered, showing activity in regions of the brain typically dormant in humans. More disturbing were the crystalline structures forming along her major nerve pathways, visible only under atomic resonance imaging. What do we know? Station Commander Valentina Sokolov demanded, her weathered face grave as she reviewed the medical data. Physically, she's stable, Dr. Omar replied, gesturing to the displays. But her brain activity, it's like nothing I've ever seen. It's as if her neural network is being redesigned, rebuilt from the inside out. Kira lay motionless on the medical bed, monitoring devices tracking every breath and heartbeat. Beneath closed eyelids, her eyes moved rapidly, as if watching scenes only she could see. Occasionally, the nearby medical equipment would flicker, displays showing strange patterns before returning to normal. Quarantine protocols are in effect, Commander Sokolov noted, but if this is first contact. She left the sentence unfinished, both of them understanding the implications. Humanity had dreamed of meeting alien life for centuries, but no one had expected it to happen like this. In the depths of Kira's transformed consciousness, information continued to flow. The crystalline beings, she now knew they called themselves the Luminari, had been waiting for millennia, watching humanity's development. They were not merely sentient crystals but living quantum computers, storing vast archives of knowledge and experience. And now, through her, they would deliver their warning. The only question was, would humanity be ready to listen? As the station's night cycle began, Kira's vital signs suddenly spiked. Her eyes snapped open, revealing irises that glowed with an inner light. The medical equipment around her burst into activity, displays showing impossible readings. Dr. Omar rushed to her side, but before he could reach her, she spoke in a voice that seemed to echo with ancient knowledge. "They're coming." The emergency meeting of Station Helios's command staff was interrupted by another power fluctuation. Lights flickered, gravity wavered, and every screen in the conference room displayed the same crystalline patterns before returning to normal. "That's the seventh occurrence in 3 hours," Engineering Chief Marcus Blackwood reported, his dark eyes fixed on his tablet. "Every time Patel's neural activity spikes, we get these disturbances." Commander Sokolov paced the length of the conference room, her boots making soft sounds against the metal floor. Through the reinforced windows, the asteroid belt stretched endlessly, hiding its secrets in the vast darkness. "Dr. Omar, what's your assessment?" she asked, turning to face the medical chief. The doctor gestured to a holographic display showing Kira's neural scans. "The crystalline structures have integrated with her nervous system. They're not just growing along her neural pathways, they're enhancing them. Her brain activity suggests she's processing information at rates that should be impossible for a human mind. And the risks? Unknown. We're in uncharted territory. The only person who might understand what's happening is Kira herself, but..." He hesitated. "But what, doctor? But I'm not sure how much of Kira Patel is still in there." In the medical bay, Kira floated in a world of light and information. The Luminari consciousness flowed through her transformed neural network, sharing knowledge accumulated over millions of years. She saw the rise and fall of civilizations across the galaxy, witnessed the birth and death of stars, and understood why the crystalline beings had chosen humanity's solar system as their waiting ground. "They're coming," she whispered again, the words tasting like stardust on her tongue. The nearby medical equipment pulsed in response, displays showing fragments of the images flooding her mind. Security Chief Diana Rodriguez watched through the quarantine field, her hand resting instinctively on her sidearm. 20 years in deep space security had taught her to prepare for anything, but this situation defied all protocols. "Who's coming, Kira?" she asked, her voice steady despite her unease. "Help us understand." Kira turned toward the sound, her luminescent eyes focusing on Diana. When she spoke, her voice carried echoes of other voices, ancient and powerful, the harvesters. They seed worlds with life, wait millions of years for civilizations to develop, then collect their creations' accumulated knowledge and experiences. They're approaching the solar system now. The security chief's eyes widened. Are they hostile? They don't consider themselves hostile. They view it as gardening. Pruning. They believe they're preserving the essence of each civilization they harvest. Kira's face contorted in pain as more memories surfaced. The Luminari were created to warn others, to help prepare. But most civilizations couldn't adapt in time. Couldn't evolve quickly enough. Dr. Omar rushed into the room, followed by Commander Sokolov. The medical displays were showing unprecedented levels of neural activity. The crystalline structures, the doctor reported, checking readings, they're accelerating their integration with her system. It's as if they're trying to complete something before it's too late, Kira finished. She raised her hand, watching as light rippled beneath her skin. The Luminari aren't just warning us. They're offering us a chance to survive. To evolve. Commander Sokolov stepped closer to the quarantine field. What do you mean, evolve? The crystals, the changes to my neural network, it's an interface. A bridge between human consciousness and quantum computing. The Luminari believe that if enough humans can adapt to this integration, we might be able to. She paused, struggling to translate alien concepts into human language. We might be able to transcend our current form. Become something the harvesters can't simply collect and archive. Warning klaxons suddenly blared throughout the station. Chief Blackwood's voice came over the comm system. Commander, we're detecting multiple objects entering the solar system. They just appeared beyond Neptune's orbit, moving at impossible speeds. Kira's transformed eyes filled with ancient tears. They're early. We're not ready. The station's systems went haywire as Kira's neural activity reached new peaks. Crystalline patterns began forming on every surface, spreading like frost across metal and glass. Through their shared consciousness, the Luminari showed her visions of humanity's possible futures: extinction, preservation in the Harvester's archives, or transformation into something entirely new. We have a choice to make, she announced, her voice resonating with both human determination and alien wisdom. But we have to make it now. Dr. Omar studied the latest scans with growing amazement. The crystalline structures, they're becoming more complex, more organized. It's as if they're building something inside her neural network. A template, Kira explained. A bridge between what humanity is and what it could become. But the process, the integration, it would have to be voluntary. Each person would have to choose to accept the change. Commander Sokolov's expression hardened as she made the connection. You're talking about deliberately infecting people with these crystals? Transforming the entire human race? Not infecting, Kira corrected. Evolving. Merging. Becoming something new, not quite human, not quite Luminari, but capable of surviving what's coming. She turned her luminescent gaze to each person in the room. The harvesters are nearly here. We can run, hide, and ultimately fall like countless civilizations before us. Or we can take this leap into the unknown. The station shuddered as another wave of power fluctuations hit. On every screen, displays showed the approaching objects, massive structures that defied conventional physics, bearing down on the solar system with unstoppable purpose. The time for humanity's choice had arrived. The observation deck of Station Helios had become a war room. Holographic displays showed the harvesters' approach, their massive vessels now visible as more than just sensor readings. Through the reinforced windows, Neptune's blue disk seemed to shiver as the alien ships distorted space around them. 12 hours until they reached the asteroid belt, reported Marcus Blackwood, his fingers dancing across control surfaces. Every observatory in the system is tracking them now. No way to keep this quiet anymore. The news feeds from Earth confirmed his assessment. Panic was spreading as governments struggled to explain the approaching vessels. Military forces worldwide were mobilizing, though everyone in the station's war room knew conventional weapons would be useless against beings that could bend space itself. Kira stood at the center of it all, her transformed body casting subtle patterns of light across the deck's surfaces. The crystalline structures had spread further, creating intricate networks visible beneath her skin. Through her enhanced consciousness, she could feel the Luminari's growing urgency. "They're scanning us," she announced, her voice carrying harmonics that made the station's hull resonate. The harvesters, they're already analyzing our civilization, preparing to archive us. Dr. Omar approached with his medical scanner, fascinated despite the crisis. The crystal integration has reached 87% of your neural pathways. Are you in any pain? Pain is irrelevant now. Kira's luminescent eyes fixed on a point far beyond the station's walls. I can see them more clearly, the harvesters. They're beautiful, in their way. They believe they're preserving the essence of every civilization they encounter. Like pressing flowers in a book. Commander Sokolov slammed her hand against a console. We're not flowers to be pressed. How do we fight them? We don't, Kira replied softly. Not directly. The Luminari tried that, thousands of civilizations tried that. The harvesters can't be destroyed, they're as fundamental to the galaxy as gravity or light. But we can. She struggled, alien concepts fighting with human language. We can transcend their definition of life. Diana Rodriguez stepped forward, her security team behind her. The crystal integration you mentioned, how would it work? Practically speaking. Kira raised her hand, light flowing beneath her skin. The Luminari can create integration nodes, points of contact that would allow willing humans to begin the transformation. It's not just physical, it's a complete merger of consciousness. Human creativity and adaptability combined with Luminari processing power and knowledge. And the risks? Dr. Omar asked. Total, Kira admitted. Those who accept the integration would no longer be purely human. We'd become something new, something that exists partially in quantum space. The harvesters wouldn't be able to simply archive and preserve us, we'd be too complex, too fluid in form. The station's sensors blared new warnings. The harvester vessels had increased speed, their massive forms now visible from Jupiter's orbit. Humanity's window of choice was shrinking. We need to make a decision, Commander Sokolov announced, addressing the entire command staff. This isn't just about our station anymore. Whatever we decide here will affect the entire human race. Through the Luminari connection, Kira sensed the harvester's thoughts, vast, cold, methodical. They had done this countless times before, cataloging and preserving civilizations they deemed worthy of study. Their archives held the accumulated knowledge of millions of species, all carefully preserved like insects in amber. They're not evil, she explained, watching the approaching ships. They're more like cosmic librarians. They believe they're saving us from the chaos of existence, preserving our essence for eternity. But they don't understand, can't understand, that transformation is our essence. Change, adaptation, evolution, that's what makes us human. The crystal patterns across her skin pulsed with new intensity as she accessed deeper levels of Luminari knowledge. The integration, it's not just about survival. It's about becoming something more. The Luminari chose humanity because they saw our potential. Our ability to embrace change, to adapt, to dream of possibilities that defy logic. Dr. Omar's scanner beeped urgently. Your neural activity is off the charts. The crystal structures are generating quantum fields I can't even measure. Kira nodded, her movements leaving trails of light in the air. The Luminari are preparing. If we decide to proceed, they can create integration nodes throughout the station. But it has to be voluntary, the transformation won't work otherwise. Each person must choose to embrace this evolution. Commander Sokolov studied the tactical displays, watching the harvester's inexorable approach. And those who choose not to integrate? They'll be preserved in the harvester's archives. Their knowledge, their memories, their essence, all perfectly preserved for eternity. But frozen, unchanging, unable to grow or evolve. The command staff exchanged glances, the weight of the decision pressing down on them. Humanity stood on the brink of either transformation or preservation, and the choice had to be made now. A new alert sounded through the station. The harvesters had crossed Mars's orbit. 10 hours remaining, Marcus announced grimly. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it soon. Kira turned to face the assembled crew, her transformed eyes holding both human determination and alien wisdom. I can show you what the integration feels like. Let you experience the potential of what we could become. But the choice must be yours. She raised her hands, and the station's lights dimmed as crystalline patterns began to form in the air around her. The time for humanity's greatest decision had arrived. The crystalline patterns floating around Kira coalesced into a shimmering sphere of light, filling Station Helios's observation deck with otherworldly radiance. Through her enhanced consciousness, she could feel the crew's mix of fear, wonder, and determination. Let me show you, she said, her voice resonating at quantum frequencies. Let me show you what we could become. Commander Sokolov stepped forward first, her weathered face set with resolve. Show me. The sphere of light expanded, enveloping both women. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen, then Sokolov gasped, her eyes widening as her mind touched the quantum consciousness that Kira now shared with the Luminari. She saw possibilities unfolding like fractal patterns, humanity spreading across the galaxy not in ships of metal and plastic, but as beings of energy and thought. She experienced the freedom of existing partially in quantum space, able to process reality on levels that her purely human mind could never comprehend. Most importantly, she felt the potential for growth, for continued evolution beyond anything the harvesters could capture and preserve. When the light receded, tears streamed down the commander's face. It's beautiful, she whispered. One by one, other crew members stepped forward to experience the vision. Dr. Omar watched in fascination as his medical scanners recorded unprecedented levels of neural activity in each participant. The crystalline patterns in the air grew more complex, more intricate, as if reflecting the expanding consciousness of everyone who witnessed the possibility of transformation. But not everyone was convinced. This isn't natural, protested Lieutenant James Foster from engineering. We'd be giving up our humanity. No, Kira corrected gently. We'd be expanding it. Everything that makes us human, our creativity, our emotions, our ability to dream, would remain. We'd simply gain the capacity to express those qualities in new ways. The station's alerts blared again. The harvester vessels had reached the asteroid belt, their massive forms now clearly visible through the observation windows. Space itself seemed to bend around them as they moved, their technology operating on principles that defied conventional physics. 8 hours remaining, Marcus announced, his voice tense. They're scanning the outer stations now. We've lost contact with mining outpost Gamma. Through her connection with the Luminari, Kira felt the harvester's methodical progress. The outer stations weren't being destroyed, they were being analyzed, their crew and data carefully preserved in crystalline matrices that would last for eternity. But it was a static preservation, a snapshot of human potential frozen forever in time. They're not just preserving our bodies and minds, Kira explained, watching the distant vessels. They're preserving our entire civilization, our art, our music, our dreams. Everything we are, everything we've created, perfectly maintained forever. She turned to face the crew. But we'd never create anything new. Never grow. Never change. Commander Sokolov straightened her uniform, her decision made. I choose transformation, she announced. As commander of Station Helios, I authorize the creation of integration nodes throughout the station. But participation must be voluntary. The next hours passed in a blur of activity. The Luminari, working through Kira's transformed consciousness, began establishing quantum resonance points throughout the station. Crystalline structures grew like living architecture, each node pulsing with potential. Dr. Omar worked tirelessly to monitor the first volunteers as they underwent integration. The process was different for each person, some experienced it as a sudden expansion of consciousness, others as a gradual awakening to new levels of perception. The crystal structures adapted to each individual's neural patterns, creating unique interfaces between human consciousness and quantum processing. But time was running out. Harvester vessels approaching Mars colonies, Marcus reported grimly. The transformation process is only 40% complete on our station. Through the quantum network forming between transformed crew members, Kira sensed a new possibility. The Luminary consciousness merged with human intuition, creating insights that neither species could have achieved alone. We don't need to transform everyone, she announced suddenly. We just need to reach critical mass, enough transformed consciousness to create a quantum field that the harvesters can't process. We could shield the entire solar system. The implications rippled through the growing network of transformed minds. It was a desperate gamble, but one that might save both those who chose to transform and those who wished to remain purely human. As the harvester vessels loomed ever closer, Kira felt the power of human determination merging with luminary wisdom. They were about to attempt something unprecedented, not just resisting the harvesters, but fundamentally changing the rules of the game. The final hours of humanity's existence as a purely physical species had begun. The harvester vessels filled the viewport of Station Helios, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the light of Earth's distant sun. Inside the station, reality itself seemed to waver as the quantum field generated by transformed crew members grew stronger. Kira stood at the heart of it all, her body now more energy than matter, streams of light flowing through the crystalline networks that had once been her nervous system. Through the expanding quantum consciousness, she felt the thoughts and emotions of every transformed crew member, fear and wonder intertwined with determination. Harvesters have breached Mars's defense perimeter, Marcus reported, his own body beginning to shimmer with the early stages of transformation. Earth is mobilizing everything they have, but conventional weapons are useless. How many? Commander Sokolov asked, her transformed consciousness adding harmonics to her voice that made the station's hull resonate. 70% of station personnel have completed transformation, Dr. Omar answered, monitoring the quantum field readings. The rest have either declined or are still in process. Through her connection with the Luminari, Kira sensed the harvesters' growing confusion. Their scans were encountering something they'd never seen before, consciousness that existed simultaneously in physical and quantum space, minds that couldn't be captured and preserved by their ancient technology. They're trying to understand, she announced, watching the massive vessels through both physical and quantum senses. This isn't in their archives. Nothing like this has ever happened before. The quantum field strengthened as more crew members completed their transformation. Each mind added new dimensions to their shared consciousness, human creativity merging with luminary processing power in ways that defied conventional physics. But the harvesters weren't going to give up easily. The first attack came without warning, a beam of pure information, designed to overwhelm and archive any consciousness it encountered. It struck the station's quantum field like a tsunami hitting a shore. But instead of being overwhelmed, the transformed crew absorbed the information, their hybrid consciousness processing and adapting to it. Human minds, evolved through millennia of storytelling and imagination, proved remarkably adept at integrating new patterns of thought. Push back, Kira commanded, her voice echoing through both physical and quantum space. Show them what we've become. The transformed crew responded as one, their merged consciousness reaching out toward the harvester vessels. They shared not just information but experiences, the joy of discovery, the pain of loss, the wonder of creation. Most importantly, they shared the very human understanding that preservation without growth was just another form of death. The harvesters' response was immediate and unexpected. Their vessels stopped, their scanning beams frozen in space as they encountered something entirely new in their millions of years of collecting civilizations. Through the quantum field, Kira felt their ancient minds struggling to process this new form of life. The harvesters had preserved countless species, but they'd never encountered one that could transform itself so fundamentally, yet remain essentially what it was. They're trying to communicate, she announced, translating the complex quantum signals. They want to understand. Commander Sokolov's transformed consciousness joined with Kira's, adding her strength to the connection. Then let's show them everything. Not just what we are, but what we're becoming. The entire transformed crew joined in, their merged consciousness reaching out to the harvesters. They shared the experience of transformation, the fear, the wonder, the endless possibilities. They showed them humanity's greatest strength, the ability to change while remaining true to itself. The harvester vessels began to pulse with new patterns of light. Through their quantum connection, Kira felt their ancient minds processing this new paradigm. For the first time in their existence, they had encountered a species that could neither be preserved nor archived, because it was constantly evolving, constantly transforming. "They're retreating," Marcus announced, watching through both physical and quantum senses as the massive vessels began to move away from Earth. "They're actually leaving." But Kira felt something more through their connection. "Not just leaving," she corrected. "Learning. We've shown them a new possibility, that preservation isn't the only way to save a civilization's essence. Growth, change, evolution, these are what truly preserve a species." The transformed crew watched as the harvester vessels disappeared into deep space, their ancient mission forever changed by this encounter. Through their shared consciousness, they felt the first ripples of change spreading through the galaxy as the harvesters began to share what they had learned. In the station's medical bay, Dr. Omar monitored the final transformations. The process had become smoother as they understood it better, the merger of human and luminary consciousness creating something entirely new in the universe. "What now?" Commander Sokolov asked, her transformed being pulsing with possibilities. Kira smiled, her form shifting between physical and quantum states. "Now we grow. We explore. We become something even we can't imagine yet." She looked out at the star-filled void, seeing it with both human wonder and luminary wisdom. "The harvesters taught us that preservation isn't enough. The luminary taught us that transformation is possible. But humanity..." She paused, feeling the endless potential in their merged consciousness. "Humanity taught the galaxy that evolution never truly ends." As Station Helios orbited the asteroid belt, its transformed crew began reaching out to Earth, ready to share the gift of evolution with anyone willing to embrace change. They had become humanity's bridge to the future, not quite human, not quite alien, but something gloriously, eternally new. The end was just the beginning.